My dad gave me a choice: either invite my sister, the one who slept with my ex, to the wedding, or he wouldn't show up at all. So I chose not to invite him. That decision set off a chain of events that's still affecting my life. This month I married Ethan, the man I love more than anything. You'd think we'd be soaking up the honeymoon vibes right now, dreaming about the future, and enjoying the start of our married life. But instead, here I am, posting on Reddit, totally drained and confused, because my dad is making everything harder than it needs to be. I keep asking myself, am I the one in the wrong? Let me back up and explain. It all started when I decided to ask my dad to walk me down the aisle. On paper, it might seem like a sweet, traditional thing to do. But the truth is, my dad and I have never really been close. That's mostly because of how he's treated me my whole life. My mom died giving birth to me. My dad wasn't even there. He was out of town for work when she went into labor. Things went south fast. She lost a lot of blood and the doctors couldn't save her. By the time he came back, she was gone. And there I was, a newborn he hadn't met, but who, in his mind, had taken his wife away. That moment shaped everything that came after. I get it. Losing mom like that had to be earth-shattering for him. But instead of dealing with his grief in a healthy way, it turned into this cold resentment toward me. And he didn't hide it. It was clear in the way he treated me growing up. I've always felt like I carried this invisible burden, guilt for something I had absolutely no control over. I was just a baby, but somehow I became the reason he was miserable. My older sister Lena, who's 3 years older, once told me that when I was little, Dad wouldn't even look at me. She said he used to tell people I reminded him too much of Mom and that he couldn't stand that. He ended up hiring a full-time nanny to take care of me. So I spent most of my early years with someone else raising me. It left me feeling unwanted and left out, even if no one ever said it out loud. While other kids had a dad who showed up for them, mine acted like I barely existed. Lena, on the other hand, was clearly his favorite. That's not just me being bitter, Lena agrees too. Dad didn't even try to pretend otherwise. He spoiled her with attention, gave her everything, and treated her like she could do no wrong. Meanwhile, I was just there. Once I hit around 9 or 11, I became the family helper. Dad made me do all the chores, dishes, laundry, cleaning, while Lena never had to lift a finger. When I asked why she got a free pass, he'd say Lena needed to focus on her schoolwork. Me? He said I should get used to housework because I wasn't as smart as her and might end up a stay-at-home wife. It was unbelievably unfair, but he didn't care. If I ever asked for help or complained, he'd get mad, threaten to ground me, or take away my phone, which, to a kid, felt like the worst punishment ever. Anytime I wanted something, a new outfit, a book, he'd shut it down, saying it wasn't necessary or was a waste of money. Meanwhile, Lena got everything she wanted, no questions asked. If I was stranded and needed a ride, he'd tell me to figure it out myself, even if it meant walking home alone. But if Lena needed a ride, even if it was an hour away, he'd drop everything for her. No hesitation. The favoritism drove me crazy. And Lena took full advantage of it. If something broke in the house, she blamed me immediately. It didn't matter how much I denied it or explained what really happened, Dad always took her side and punished me. She even used my love for arts and crafts to make fun of me. I've always been a creative person, it brings me joy. But Lena would tell Dad I was being childish and girly, that crafting was for losers. Instead of sticking up for me, Dad would laugh along with her. It hurt, because it was something I genuinely loved, and they turned it into another reason to mock me. And whenever I tried to speak up or defend myself, Lena would jump in, making it look like I was being disrespectful. One time, during a heated argument, she told me Mom would have been ashamed to have given birth to someone like me. Then she said she wished I'd died instead of Mom because I was ruining their lives. That broke something in me. Imagine hearing that from your own sister and seeing your father do nothing about it. It messes with your head. You start keeping everything inside. You stop trusting. You start walking on eggshells, always scared of setting them off. I was so tired of being blamed for my mom's death. I counted down the days until I could leave for college. And when I finally did, I never looked back. I got a job, supported myself, and felt what freedom actually was for the first time, living life on my own terms without their constant judgment hanging over me. After I moved out, things with Dad got a little better. Not because we worked through anything, just because we weren't around each other as much. The distance made it easier to avoid arguments. Meanwhile, Lena stuck around. She never really got a stable job and she lived with Dad rent-free. She'd tell everyone it was because she was saving money, but I knew better. She liked being the favorite. Dad was happy to take care of her, even though she was a grown woman who should have learned to stand on her own 2 feet. and she was more than happy to let him. One Thanksgiving, Dad invited me and my boyfriend over for dinner. I wasn't thrilled, I wasn't close with them, but I went out of politeness. My boyfriend and I agreed we'd only stay at my dad's place for 3 nights that Thanksgiving. After that, we planned to spend the rest of the holiday with his family, where it actually felt warm and welcoming. But everything changed the moment Lena met him. Right off the bat, she was all over him. Constant compliments, calling him handsome and gorgeous, all while throwing shade at me. She even joked that she never thought her ugly duckling of a sister would land a guy like him. I was pissed, obviously, but I didn't want to create a scene in front of him, so I kept it together. Then she started finding excuses to touch him, light brushes on the arm, leaning in way too close, little taps on his shoulder. It wasn't just uncomfortable, it felt like a slap in the face. I tried to handle it like an adult, pulled her aside, and calmly asked her to ease up. I told her it might be making him uncomfortable. Lena just rolled her eyes and laughed it off. She accused me of being jealous and told me to stop killing the mood. Like always, she dismissed my concerns like I was being dramatic. Later that evening after dinner, Dad went up to his room. That left the 3 of us, me, Lena, and my boyfriend, downstairs watching a movie. What should have been a chill night turned into another disaster. Lena kept messing around with him like a middle schooler, play fighting, nudging him, getting all in his space. And the worst part? He wasn't exactly pushing her away. He didn't outright flirt back, but he definitely wasn't uncomfortable either. I sat there watching it all, feeling like an outsider in my own relationship and my own family. Eventually, I just couldn't take it anymore. I was emotionally wiped and the disrespect was too much. I told them I was tired and went upstairs to get some rest. I figured he'd come up later, but he didn't. The next morning, I woke up early and immediately felt something was off. The house was too quiet. I glanced over and saw that my boyfriend hadn't even come to bed. My gut twisted. I headed downstairs, hoping maybe he crashed on the couch or something. But he wasn't there. I didn't want to believe it, but I started walking toward Lena's room. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst. I opened her door and there they were. Lying in bed together, half naked. 2 empty wine bottles and glasses on the floor. I felt like the air got sucked out of the room. I stood there, frozen with shock, disgusted, furious. He had actually slept with my sister. Of all people. Lena, the one person who had made my life miserable for years. I lost it. I started yelling, which woke them up. They both looked stunned and scrambled to explain. I grabbed a pillow and just started throwing it at them. My ex was stumbling over his words, apologizing, blaming the wine, saying they were drunk and didn't mean for it to happen. Like that made it okay. What made it worse was Lena's reaction. She didn't say sorry. She didn't even look guilty. Instead, she told me to get out of her room so she could get dressed. She actually had the nerve to accuse me of invading her privacy, like I was the problem here. Her arrogance was unreal. She tried to flip the situation on me, and I just stood there speechless. I thought telling my dad would help, that he'd at least be on my side this one time. At first, he did seem shocked. For a brief second, I thought maybe, just maybe he'd finally back me up. But then he changed his tone completely. He said he didn't agree with what Lena did, but they were both adults and free to do what they wanted. Like my sister sleeping with my boyfriend was just some mistake we should all move past. He acted like it was no big deal, like this massive betrayal didn't matter. Then he really twisted the knife. He told me I should have picked a better man, that it was basically my fault for bringing someone with loose morals into the family. As if I could have seen this coming. As if I deserved it. I felt like I was losing my mind. Lena wasn't some passive victim in all this. She chose to go after my boyfriend, knowing how much it would hurt me. But my dad refused to hold her accountable. He always let her get away with everything, no matter how cruel or selfish she was. So I did what I had to do. I broke up with him. There was no fixing what he'd done. Sleeping with my sister? That was unforgivable. And Lena? I cut her off completely. No apology. No guilt. Nothing. Instead, she bragged about it. Told our cousins she stole my man in one night. Even claimed he said she was better in bed than me. It was disgusting. Pure evil. And she said it all with a smirk, like she'd won some kind of prize. That was the final straw with my dad too. His refusal to stand up for me, his decision to side with her, whether directly or not, was enough. I stopped talking to him. He tried to reach out now and then, but I ignored him. Then earlier this year, something unexpected happened. He had a serious health scare. It was bad. The doctors managed to save him, but he came out of it weaker and needing help. Even with all the pain and resentment I carried around, I was the one who stepped up when Dad needed help. Not because I felt obligated, but because I could, and because deep down I still had a heart for him. I'd already lost my mom. And no matter what had happened between us, I didn't want to lose my dad too. I took on a lot during his recovery. Paid for medical expenses that insurance didn't cover, hired a full-time caregiver, made sure he was comfortable and well taken care of at home. It wasn't easy, but it felt like the right thing to do. Lena, on the other hand, barely lifted a finger. Her job doesn't pay enough to contribute meaningfully, and honestly, she didn't even seem interested in helping. She just let me take care of everything while she carried on as usual. I think during this time, something finally clicked for Dad. He started to see the reality of who was really there for him. And then, out of nowhere, he apologized. He actually admitted how he treated me growing up. How he wasn't there for me. How he let Lena's behavior slide, even when it clearly hurt me. For the first time, I felt like he truly saw me, the pain he caused, the way he'd failed me as a parent. That moment didn't undo everything, but it cracked the door open. It gave us a chance to maybe rebuild something. We started talking more. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like there was a bit of hope between us. So when I started planning my wedding, inviting Dad felt like the right step. Things were getting better, and deep down, I still wanted him to be part of this major moment in my life. But one thing was non-negotiable: Alina wasn't invited. She never apologized. Never showed any kind of regret for what she did. We didn't have a relationship, and I didn't want to pretend we did just for the sake of appearances. But Dad, riding the high of our renewed connection, started pushing for her to come. He told me Lena had changed. That she deserved another chance. I asked him straight up, if she'd changed so much, why hadn't she reached out even once? Why hadn't she apologized? An apology isn't too much to ask, especially after everything. But instead of seeing my point, Dad doubled down. He said I was being petty, that I needed to move on, and that it was time to let bygones be bygones. He said my wedding was the perfect moment to start fresh as a family. I couldn't believe he was asking that of me. After everything Lena had done, he still expected me to be the one to sweep it all under the rug. Forgive and forget, without her ever taking responsibility? It was the same old pattern all over again. Him excusing her behavior while expecting me to be the bigger person. But this time, I wasn't doing it. I stood my ground and told him no. If Lena wanted to make things right, the first step was an apology. And until that happened, she wasn't going to be a part of my life or my wedding. That's when Dad dropped the bomb. He said if Lena wasn't invited, then he wouldn't come either. He refused to walk me down the aisle. Then he tried to guilt-trip me, said people would talk, that it would look bad if neither my dad nor my sister showed up. That it would reflect poorly on me. But I saw it for what it was, just another way to control me. And I wasn't having it. I told him that if he couldn't respect my boundaries, then he didn't deserve to be there on my special day at all. I disinvited him. Instead, I went to my grandfather, Dad's father, and asked if he would walk me down the aisle. When I explained everything, he didn't hesitate. He said yes immediately and made it clear how disappointed he was in my dad. Grandpa, like most of our extended family, already knew about the years of favoritism, the guilt Dad dumped on me about Mom's death, and the way he always let Lena get away with everything. He was heartbroken that even after all this time, Dad hadn't truly changed. My wedding day was still beautiful. Grandpa walked me down the aisle with pride, and I was surrounded by people who actually cared about me. We laughed, cried, danced, everything I had dreamed of for so long. It really felt like the beginning of a new chapter. But of course, Dad didn't take it well. After the wedding, when he heard what happened, he blew up. He called me, completely furious, saying he couldn't believe I'd actually gone through with it without him. He said he thought I'd cave and invite him back, and he was enraged that I'd asked Grandpa to step into his place. What really set him off, though, was the wedding gift. At the reception, Grandpa made a surprise announcement. He gave me and my husband his vacation house as a wedding gift, told us he wanted us to build happy memories there. I was completely shocked and so grateful. Grandpa told me that between Lena and me, he saw who truly valued family, who would appreciate the home, not just for what it was, but for what it meant. He said he knew I'd take care of it the way he had. That gift meant the world to me. But it sent Dad into a tailspin. As Grandpa's only child, Dad had always assumed he'd inherit everything, including the vacation home. And now that it was officially mine, he saw it as a betrayal. He and Lena have been coming after me ever since. They claim I stole the house. That it's Dad's right to inherit it. They've been pushing me to hand it over, saying Grandpa was manipulated, that I somehow tricked him into giving it to me. It's insane. And of course Lena's been the loudest one, stirring the pot, calling me greedy, saying I took advantage of Grandpa's love and generosity, painting me like I'm some schemer who stole from the family. But it's all lies. Pure projection. I didn't ask for the house. I didn't expect it. I just finally had someone recognize my worth in the pain I'd been through and honor me for it. ATA Update 1, answering the most common questions. Is your sister married? Nope. Lena's not married. She's never been good at commitment and avoids serious relationships altogether. Why is your adult sister still living with your dad? Because she's the golden child. Dad's always been her safety net. They have a pretty codependent relationship. He loves spoiling her, and she loves being taken care of. Meanwhile, I've worked hard to stand on my own 2 feet. Does Lena have a job or savings? Not really. No steady job and definitely no savings to speak of. Why didn't your grandparents step in sooner? They actually did. My grandparents were always in my corner. They tried to support me in whatever ways they could, even when Dad wouldn't listen. My grandparents tried talking to my dad plenty of times, hoping he'd change. But he never did. In the end, raising me wasn't their responsibility, it was his. He was the parent. He should have stepped up, owned his role, and been the kind of father I needed. I understand that losing my mom broke him. I really do. But grief doesn't justify years of neglect and blatant favoritism. As a kid, I just wanted to feel loved. Wanted to feel like I mattered. But Dad was the adult in the room, and he should have been the one to rise above his pain and actually show up for me. Did my dad ever date again after Mom passed? No. He stayed single all these years. To this day, he's still mourning her. Honestly, I don't think he ever truly healed. Update 2. So today, I finally met up with Dad. He'd been blowing up my phone for weeks, calls, texts, nonstop. I figured it was time to just sit down face to face and end the back and forth once and for all. Right away, I told him I wasn't giving up the vacation house. Grandpa gave it to me as a gift. That was his decision and it wasn't up for debate. Dad didn't take it well, which I expected. He called me selfish and manipulative, accusing me of stealing what was rightfully his. He said I've been taking things from him my whole life, and now this house was just another thing I'd taken. I wasn't shocked by his words, but they still cut deep. That's when I looked him straight in the eye and asked, "Why do you hate me so much? What did I ever do to you?" He looked stunned. For a second, he didn't know what to say. But I didn't let up. I reminded him that I'd always known, deep down, that he blamed me for Mom's death. But was that really the only reason? I said, I was just a baby when she died. What did you expect me to do, save her? I didn't have a choice. But you did. You weren't even there when she needed you. You were off on a work trip. I told him it wasn't right for him to unload his guilt and grief onto me. It was never my fault, and yet my entire life he treated me like it was. There was this long, heavy silence. Then slowly he started to open up. He admitted the truth. He told me he never wanted a second child. When Mom got pregnant with me, he was against it from the start. The doctors warned them about the risks, but Mom was determined to have me. Dad begged her to terminate the pregnancy, but she refused. So when she died giving birth to me, he blamed me for taking her away. He said for years he wished I'd never been born. And as I grew older and started to look more like her, it only made him miss her more and resent me even deeper. It broke my heart hearing him say it out loud. But then he said something I didn't expect. He told me that after I took care of him during his health scare this year, he finally saw me differently. That I reminded him of Mom, not just in how I looked, but in how kind and nurturing I was. And that's when the guilt hit him full force. He apologized. Said he genuinely regretted the way he treated me. But then he added that Lena was just easier to deal with. That she never reminded him of Mom, never forced him to face his pain. He admitted that he hoped my wedding would be a way to patch everything up. He imagined the three of us showing up as a united family. So when I didn't invite Lena and disinvited him, he said I ruined it. He even called Grandpa walking me down the aisle the biggest betrayal I could have done to him. Like that was the real offense. I couldn't believe it. After everything, he was trying to act like I was the one who hurt him. Like I was the villain for finally standing up for myself. I just stared at him, completely drained. I told him straight up, I was never going to be good enough in his eyes. I was always going to be the scapegoat in this family. And I was done trying. I said if he ever landed in the hospital again, he shouldn't expect me to pay the bills or come running. He could count on Lena for that, the same Lena who can't even manage her own monthly expenses. And as for the vacation house, I reminded him that Grandpa made that decision on his own. If he had a problem with it, he could take it up with Grandpa. I was done explaining myself. He tried to keep arguing, but I just walked away. I'd said all I needed to say. Since then he's kept calling, but I haven't picked up once. I'm finished. I'm finally choosing peace. I want to focus on my marriage and move forward. Ethan, my husband, has been my rock through all this. He understands exactly what I've been dealing with and has supported me every step of the way. Update 3. It's been almost a month now. And even after everything we talked about, Dad still won't let it go. He keeps sending me texts, apologies, explanations, trying to make me feel guilty. Telling me he needs me. That I'm the only one he can trust when he's sick. But no matter how many times I read those messages, they don't change anything. They feel hollow. Too little, too late. His apologies feel more like attempts to pull me back under his control. And I'm not falling for it anymore. Lena also sent me a long, nasty message. Said I was heartless for cutting Dad off and that he's already suffered enough because of me. She even had the audacity to say that she grew up without a mom because of me. That I'm a curse to everyone in our family. That I stole the vacation house and that karma would get me in the end. I didn't even bother responding. I blocked her. She can rant and scream all she wants. That house is mine. And there's nothing she can do about it.